Welcome to the Explainer. You know that sinking feeling, right? You're staring at a blank screen, the cursor is just blinking at you, and you're totally paralyzed by this massive university assignment? Let's just validate that right out of the gate. The jump from high school writing to university-level research, it's a completely different ballgame. In high school, sure, you could probably get away with skimming some reading the night before, but at the university level, when you're suddenly juggling these incredibly dense academic journals and complex theories, it literally feels like you're climbing a mountain without a rope. It's overwhelming, and frankly, it causes a ton of anxiety.
But, well, here's the good news. Success in academic writing actually isn't about being this natural-born wordsmith. It's about relying on a system. So, consider this your university essay survival guide. Our source material highlights a massive paradigm shift here. Mastering a reliable, structured process completely takes the burden off your raw writing skills. The real secret? If you have a rock-solid system in place, the language naturally follows. This is huge, especially if you're navigating university as an English as a second language learner. Listen, you don't need perfect grammar to start. You just need a perfect plan.
To get you there, we've got a chronological blueprint to demystify this whole process. We're looking at 4 steps. 1. Dissect action verbs. 2. The in-class goldmine. 3. Fishbone progress tracker. And 4. The rule of 3. Let's dive in.
Number 1. Dissect action verbs.
Okay, the single most common mistake students make is this. They grab the assignment sheet, skim it super fast, start panicking, and just immediately start typing. Please do not do this. Before you write a single word, you have to decode the prompt. You're hunting for action verbs, words like analyze, compare, evaluate. Look, these aren't just fancy synonyms professors use to sound smart. They are totally different sets of instructions for your brain. They literally dictate your entire strategy. If a professor says compare 2 theories, but you write 10 pages evaluating which one is better, you miss the mark, no matter how gorgeous your writing is. You've got to treat these verbs as exact cognitive blueprints. Once you identify that specific verb, you know exactly what kind of intellectual heavy lifting your essay needs to do.
Moving on to step 2, the in-class goldmine. Seriously, why on earth would you go searching the vast, infinite depths of the entire internet when your professor already handed you the framework? Step 1 here is to use Tuesday's lecture notes as your compass. Your lectures aren't just background noise, guys. They are the literal boundaries of your assignment. So once you're grounded in the professor's specific framing, then you move to step 2. You head to the library or the university database to find peer-reviewed journal articles. You are not just blindly Googling for random facts. And that brings us to step 3. You are specifically hunting for articles that back up, challenge, or expand upon exactly what was discussed in class. Basically, you're building a strategic, tightly focused bridge between the lecture hall and the library. Doing this saves you hours of wasted research time for sure. Plus, it guarantees your sources perfectly align with the course material.
Step 3. The fishbone progress tracker. Now let's be real for a second. Even with a super focused strategy, gathering all those notes, lecture slides, and articles, it gets messy. Your brain just starts swimming in information. So how do we organize the chaos? We adapt the Ichikawa fishbone diagram. You might actually recognize this from the business world as a cause and effect tool, but we're turning it into a dynamic visual map for your academic logic. Think of it like a skeleton. The spine is your main thesis, and the ribs are your different research phases or subtopics. So instead of a boring linear outline going top to bottom, you draw a horizontal line right across your page. That's your core argument. Then branching off that spine are the ribs, the specific concepts from the lecture, the data from those journal articles, the action verbs you need to hit. Suddenly, that messy pile of research becomes a highly visual, logically mapped out organism.
But the absolutely crucial part is what you actually do with this fishbone diagram. And I've got a major pro tip for you here, especially if English is your second language. Take this visual map straight to your professor's office hours. The payoff here is massive. First, you're showing them your exact thought process. You're sitting down and saying, hey, I haven't written the final draft yet, but here's my logic. Second, in this age of AI and copy-pasting, this proves your academic integrity before the essay is even done. They get to see the original work happening in real time. Third, it shows you're incredibly organized. But honestly, most importantly, it takes the pressure entirely off your grammar and puts the focus 100% on your high-level ideas. You're communicating your intellect visually, and that shifts the whole dynamic completely in your favor.
And finally, step 4, the rule of 3. Okay, so your logic is all mapped out, your professor absolutely loves the direction you're heading, but you still have a diagram totally packed with information, and you still have to, actually write the paper. So how do you filter all that noise? 3. It sounds almost too simple, but 3 is the ultimate anti-overwhelm tool. It is literally the magic number you need to build a solid, persuasive academic argument without losing your mind, or for that matter, losing your reader.
Let's break down just how strict you need to be with this. Step 1, you scan your readings, your fishbone diagram, your journal articles. You'll probably find, 10 or 12 incredibly interesting facts or theories. But step 2 requires real discipline. You must surgically select exactly 3 core topics or arguments. Not 5, not 7, just 3. You kind of have to be willing to ignore all the other cool stuff you found. Why? Because step 3 is where you build your body paragraphs using only those 3 selected items. One body section for your first argument, one for the second, one for the third. That's the whole shebang. Doing this creates a beautifully structured, heavily supported, and really easy to read paper. It forces you to go deep on a few things instead of just going shallow on a lot of things.
So, here is our ultimate takeaway from all this. Master the process, and the English will feel a lot less intimidating. We started this explainer talking about that overwhelming mountain of university assignments, but look at what we just did. By dissecting the prompt, leaning on your class notes, visually mapping out your logic, and then strictly limiting your arguments to just 3 points, you've transformed a mountain into a safe, reliable procedure. You aren't staring at a terrifying blank page anymore. You are simply filling in the blanks of a system that you completely control.
Which leaves us with this final, empowering thought to chew on. If you master the structure, does the language simply follow? Think about it. If you completely remove the cognitive overload of worrying about what to say, do you instantly unlock the mental bandwidths of how to say it? Applying this chronological blueprint to your next assignment might just completely change your academic trajectory. Thanks so much for exploring this with us today.